Objective of Hajj and Umrah. The objective of Hajj and Umrah is the same as their essence and reality, which is acknowledgement of the blessings of the Almighty, affirmation of His Tawheed, and a reminder of the fact that after embracing Islam, we have devoted and dedicated ourselves to Him. It is these things whose comprehension and cognizance are called the benefits or manafi of the places of Hajj. Consequently, the words of the verse quoted at the beginning are لِيَشْهَدُوا مَنَافِعَ لَهُمْ, or so that they are able to reach places of benefit. This objective is nicely depicted in the utterances which have been specified for this ritual. It is evident that these expressions have been selected so that this objective is highlighted and fully implanted in the minds. Hence, after wearing the ihram, these words flow from every person's mouth. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. I am in your presence, O Lord, I am in your presence. I am in your presence. No one is your partner. I am in your presence. Gratitude is for you, and all blessings are yours, and sovereignty is for you only, and no one is your partner. Days of Hajj and Umrah. No time has been fixed for Umrah. It can be offered throughout the year whenever people want. However, the days of Hajj have been fixed from the 8th to 13th of Dhul Hajj, and it can be offered in these days only. Since people have to reach the city of Mecca from all over the world, so in order to safeguard this journey, the Almighty prohibited war in 4 months. These months are Rajab, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hajj, and Muharram. Among these months, Rajab is fixed for Umrah, and the other 3 are reserved for Hajj. These months have always remained sacred, and there was never any doubt about their sanctity. The Almighty says in the Quran, إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. God ordained the months 12 in number when He created the heavens and the earth. Of these, 4 are sacred. This is the true faith. Therefore, do not sin against yourselves in them. Surah number 9, verse 36. Sites of Hajj and Umrah. The sites of Hajj and Umrah are called the Sha'air of God. The Quranic words are Inna Safa wal Marwata min Sha'airillah. Indeed, the Safa and the Marwa are the Sha'air of God. Surah number 2, verse 158. This word is the plural of Sha'ira, which means a symbol. In religious parlance, they connote certain manifestations which have been fixed by God and His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ingrain the comprehension of certain realities in our minds. The Almighty says that if these sha'air are revered, then this is an act of piety of the hearts. Following is an introduction to these sites. 1. Mawaqit. Certain places have been appointed before the limits of Haram begin, which can only be crossed in a state of ihram by those who want to offer Hajj and Umrah. Whether at these places or near them, it is essential that ihram be worn. In religious terminology, they are called miqat and are 5 in number. For those coming from Medina, the miqat is Dhul Hulayfa. For those coming from Yemen, it is Yalamlam. For those coming from Syria and Egypt, it is Juhfa. For those coming from Najd, it is Qarn. And for those arriving from the east, it is Dhatu Irq. 2. Baytul Haram. This is the same place of worship which the Quran calls Al-Bayt, Al-Baytul Atiq, and Al-Masjidul Haram. Since its building is the form of a cube, it is called Kaaba. It is located in the city of Mecca in Arabia. The Quran has also called it by the name Bakka, which means an inhabited place. It is situated about 277 meters above sea level and is surrounded by mountains from all 4 sides. Before the arrival of Abraham sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mecca was uninhabited. An ancient tribe of Arabia called Jurhum ruled this area and lived in the whereabouts of Mecca. Ishmael sallallahu alaihi wasallam was married to a lady called bint Mudad of this tribe. After the death of his son Nabat, the rule of the city came in the hands of this tribe, and they subsequently ruled for several centuries. After that, the Banu Khuzar and the Banu Bakr ruled this city. Almost a century before the advent of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when Hulail ibn Habashiyah, chief of the Khuzar tribe, died, Qusay ibn Kilab annexed it, and once again the Ishmaelites became the rulers of this city. When Abraham ﷺ arrived at this place almost 4,000 years ago at the behest of the Almighty, the Baytul Haram, because of floods and with the passage of time, had been razed to the ground, and there was no indication of it left. Through divine inspiration, he discovered its original foundations, and with the help of his son Ishmael ﷺ, constructed a roofless building. This construction, too, could not remain intact with time and was destroyed. After that, first the Amalekah and then the tribe of Jurhum constructed it. When, because of certain calamities, the construction done by the tribe of Jurhum was also demolished, the Quraysh tried to reconstruct it, but because of a lack of financial resources, it could not be constructed on its original Abrahamic foundations. This indication took place 5 years before Muhammad ﷺ was assigned prophethood. Consequently, he also participated in its construction. In fact, according to historians, the dispute of replacement of the Hajar Aswad was resolved by an excellent plan he had presented. It has been narrated that once the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ expressed his wish before Aisha radhiyallahu anha that, had it not been for the assurance and comfort of the Quraysh, he would have had the Hatim included in the structure, thus instituting the Baytullah on its original Abrahamic foundations. To honor the wish of the Prophet ﷺ, Abdullah ibn az-Zubair, during his rule, demolished the structure constructed by the Quraysh and had it reconstructed. The structure was once again destroyed by stones hurled by al-Hajjaj's catapults when he attacked Abdullah ibn Zubair. After his martyrdom at the behest of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, al-Hajjaj had the structure razed down and once again rebuilt on the foundations set by the Quraysh. The structure is now intact ever since that event. The Hajar Aswad is placed at the corner of this building. After it, the northern corner of the building is called the Rukn Iraqi, the western corner is called the Rukn Shami, and the southern corner is called the Rukn Yamani. The door of the Baytullah is almost 2 meters above the ground. The wall between this door and the Hajar Aswad is called the Multazim. This is like the doorstep of this divine shrine, embracing which the devotees invoke and beseech the Almighty. The building is covered by a black cloth which is changed every year. There is a white stone in the courtyard of the building. It is said that Abraham ﷺ stood on this very stone when he raised the foundations of the Kaaba. Near this white stone is a natural fountain which is called Zamzam. Those who come for the pilgrimage of this house quench their thirst from it. The precincts of the Baytullah extend for several kilometers on all 4 sides and have always been known. All this area is called the Haram. It is forbidden to harm any human being, animal, and even self-springing vegetation in this area. The Quranic words Haraman Amana and Mathabata Linnasi wa Amna refer to this very status of this sacred area. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said, "This is the city which has been declared sacred by the Almighty ever since He created the heavens and the earth. It is sacred till the day of judgment because of this sanctity declared by God. No one before me was ever given the permission to wage war in it. For me too, this prohibition was lifted for a part of day. Hence, it is sacred till the day of judgment because of this sanctity declared by God. Neither will its thorny trees be cut, nor its prey be chased for hunting, nor will anything found in it be picked, except if it is picked by someone in order to have it delivered to its owner, and nor will its grass be cut." Al-Bukhari, Al-Jami As-Sahih, page 296, hadith number 1834. 3. Safa and Marwa. These are 2 hills located very near the Baytullah. It is on Marwa that the incident of Ishmael's sacrifice took place. Imam Hamiduddin al-Farahi has fully unfolded this reality in his book Ar-Rai as-Sahih fi Man huwa az-Zabih. As such, this is the real place of slaughter which has been extended to Mina for the convenience of the pilgrims. In the tawaf of this place of slaughter, each round begins with Safa and ends on Marwa. In religious parlance, this is called Sa'i. 4. Mina. This is a vast field between two hills and is situated about 5 kilometers from Mecca. The pilgrims stay here after they return from Mecca on the 8th of Zulhajj and from Arafat on the 10th of Zulhajj. During their stay here, they complete the remaining rites of Hajj. 5. Arafat. This is also a vast field located about 10 kilometers from Mina. It is here that the Imam of the Muslims delivers a sermon, and then till sunset the pilgrims stand ceremoniously, called the Waquf. 6. Muzdalifah. On way to Mina, this is a second field where the pilgrims spend the night on their way back from Arafat. This is situated almost halfway between Mina and Arafat. The limits of the Haram start from here. For this very reason it is also called Mash'arul Haram. In the Quran also it is mentioned by this name. 7. Jamarat. These are 3 columns situated in the middle of Mina. The largest of these is called Jamra al-Aqba or Jamra al-Ukhra. The second and third are called Jamra al-Ula and Jamra al-Wusqa respectively. After the pilgrims return from Arafat, they hurl stones at these columns.